In Arcane, many people complain that there is clear plot armor around League of Legends characters. For those who don't know, League characters in Arcane are Vi, Jinx, Echo, Jace, Singed, Caitlyn, Victor, and Heimerdinger. And no, I'm not gonna say Teemo, Ryze, Ambessa, or Kindred, okay? In actuality, there is no plot armor in Arcane. We have just been spoiled. For example, League players know that Echo uses time travels in League of Legends, and that power is extremely important to his character design. Since Echo doesn't have time travel yet in Arcane, he obviously won't die until he gets time travel. It's not that Arcane characters have plot armor, it's that we know where League champions end up, and since each character has not realized their full League of Legends development, they can't die before then. For blind viewers, many non-League characters have been portrayed as equally, if not more important than League characters such as Mel, Silco, and Civica. Since Arcane writers don't discriminate on the importance of certain characters given their presence in the game, I doubt they will hold back from killing off some in Season 2. I say that because in Season 2, final character arcs will be caught up. Vi will become an enforcer, Victor will be a machine, and Echo will get time travel. The Arcane creators have said that they care about writing a good story first and foremost. I believe it is highly likely they will kill off some League characters for two reasons. One, champion deaths are no longer off the table, as we are past the spoiler point. The most prominent example is Jinx. All of Season 1, we watched as she grew in ferocity, insanity, and capability. She built her rocket that finishes off her game arsenal, and gained her purple shimmer eyes analogous to her pink eyes in-game. Since Jinx at the end of Season 1 has become what we have come to expect for her character, our perceptions from League of Legends are now irrelevant and anything can happen to her, even death. The possibility will apply to more and more champions in Arcane as their character arcs unfold. The second reason champion deaths are more likely is that it will just make Arcane a better story than it already is. Imagine if a champion dies. That means our preconceptions of champion plot armor have been shattered, and truly anything can happen in the series. The writers are no longer bound by game lore. Additionally, Riot has been slowly making Arcane more and more canon, rewriting the game to fit the show's narrative in some aspects. This would mean that the production team at Riot deem Arcane to be more canonically solid than the game lore. Now, you might say, wouldn't killing Caitlyn, for example, invalidate her character in League of Legends? Well, I think the argument is invalid, as one, the champions are still going to be alive and playable in League of Legends. Two, characters have acknowledged the parallel universe thing in game.
I find this parallel universe stuff very upsetting.
And three, I think we all want Arcane writers to prioritize continuing to tell a good story instead of catering to the game's consistency. Let's take a retrospective at each plot armor moment in Arcane. Episode 5 and 6, Vi gets stabbed and lives. This one is pretty simple to explain as Vi's injury is basically a shallow flesh wound. Episode 6, Caitlyn and Vi escape from Silco and his Shimmer monsters. Maybe a little plot armor here. It's a bit convenient that all the rubble only took out Silco's crew and Vi and Caitlyn were able to get out. Episode 7, Marcus doesn't shoot Caitlyn. This one's easy to explain as Marcus has no balls and I'm surprised he was even able to make a daughter. Also in Episode 7, Echo and Jinx live after the explosion. Well, Jinx grenades aren't too destructive as they didn't blow up the airship in Episode 4, and Echo was able to reasonably run away or smack the grenade away. For Jinx, who's on the ground, she took a lot more damage and almost died during surgery, but it's reasonable to think that she could recover from the explosion. Episode 9, Caitlyn not getting killed by Jinx. Jinx said herself, she's not crazy. No reason to kill Caitlyn just because she's jealous of her. She brought Caitlyn to fuck with Vi and test if she valued her sister over her girlfriend. Jinx needed Caitlyn alive to test that fact. Also in Episode 9, Jinx killing Silco instead of Vi, this one is also easy to explain. Since Jinx is highly instinctual and reacts to danger naturally, it makes sense for her to target Silco as he's about to shoot Vi, who is someone she still cares about. I think Jinx would have done the same thing if Vi was about to shoot Silco. Now, coming to Season 2, let's spill some blood. Actually, first, I'd like to defend Mel. A lot of people think she's gonna die since she's not in League and she's the closest to getting nuked, but I think it's too easy to kill Mel, especially since her mother would go insane and destroy Zon. Still, the Arcane creators need to add some consequences to Jinx's rocket other than killing off a bunch of random no-names. That's why I think Victor will die from the bomb, but you can watch that theory on your own time. Mel has a Chekhov's gun in the form of her gold artifact thingy. No way that thing gets flashed right before the nuke goes off and doesn't do anything. While I think we are all misunderstanding Ambessa too. She acts to protect her family, assuming that Mel and her brother are the only two children of her. If Mel dies, then she has nothing to fight for. Why would she waste time fighting Zahn once Mel dies? I think revenge is less important to her as there are bigger threats who are actively gunning for her head. If Mel dies, she will probably just pressure Piltover to develop Hextech weaponry for herself and just leave for Noxus. But Ambessa would have a motivation to fight Zahn if Mel is seriously injured, to further protect her daughter and her safety, serving as the leader of a government who has just been attacked. Her injured daughter would shackle her to Piltover's present affairs, shaping her actions next season. Since I mentioned Victor earlier, I think there's a 100% chance he will die next season. I don't count this as an actual champion death since he will get revived, but please watch my video on that. Next up on the chopping block is Jinx. As mentioned earlier, her character arc is fully realized and she has no more spoiler armor. Since she will probably be a terrorist next season and cause some catastrophic disaster to Piltover, I don't really see how Piltover can accept her living after everything. To me, Jinx has a 60% chance of dying next season to end her looming threat to Piltover Zahn and wrapping up the whole Arcane Piltover Zahn storyline. Although forgiveness is a key theme of Arcane, I can see some scenario where Jinx redeems herself before dying, whether that be from a cheap shot after getting forgiven or turning good, or something self-inflicted. But overall, I believe her death would wrap up the entire Piltover Zahn saga. To me, Heimerdinger has a higher chance of dying. His champion lore is basically non-existent, serving as an inventor to Piltover, whatever that means. Let's be honest, that's basically his endpoint in Season 1, helping Echo build whatever they're building. That makes him vulnerable to die. Full video on Heimerdinger's death soon, but in short, I think it would be good to kill him just to wrap up his character arc about traumas and mortality, while symbolically representing Piltover's calamity. Heimerdinger has an 80% chance of dying. On the other hand, Echo is not going to die. He represents true change for good, and he's too important as a symbol of hope to be removed from the story. For Vi and Caitlyn, though, it's a bit complicated to predict what's going to happen. Amanda said there will be something Kate-Vi shippers would love and hate. The hate part makes me worried that one of them will perish tragically. I used to think Caitlyn will get killed by Jinx, first to cement Jinx as a threat who's far too gone, and to give some moral confliction to Vi in her final showdown with Jinx, but I'm fairly confident Caitlyn won't die. That's because Caitlyn's not going to be sheriff in Season 1 because she's too nice to lead a war. Therefore, since she hasn't become the sheriff, like in League, she has spoiler armor and can't die. For Vi, it's also a bit tricky since she actually has plot armor, since she's our main character. But if someone's going to die between Vi and Caitlyn, it's more likely to be Vi. But I can't imagine a scenario where that plays out. So I say there's a 10% chance for Caitlyn dying and 30% for Vi. Jace might actually die though. He basically accomplished his League arc by episode 8 by finishing his hammer. I don't see any thematic or narrative purpose his death provides, but he lacks any spoiler armor, so anything could happen. 20% chance of dying for Jace. Last is Singed, who actually might have a good chance of dying. I know in League lore he's hired by Noxus to make weapons, and that might make him a good fit for Ambessa, but he also has these themes about mortality that might get wrapped up with his death. Also, Warwick is going to be gunning for his head. Still, there's too much unknown about him to say anything definitive. Singe gets a solid 40% chance of dying. So, I really wanted to make this video as I'm really confident that at least one League character is going to die, just so the Arcane writers can show us, hey, be prepared for anything, okay? And that would just be a tremendous precedent to set in the show. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I don't know, what do you guys think about what I said? If you think certain characters are going to die, certain characters aren't, no death flags, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one, yeah?